The fall of the American empire is not coming. It is happening, right now, before your very eyes. And those who have eyes to see and ears to hear must recognize the truth, no matter how bitter it may be.
White folk are rich and powerful, the rich and powerful, because black folk worked for 310 years as chattel slaves and got not one day's pay. I could call out the rich and the powerful whose riches have been gotten on our backs.
That's right.
But I'll save that for another time. The point is, the present generation of whites did not do this. But the present generation of whites are in their privileged position because of what a former generation of whites have done. Now the question is, a black agenda should be put before them, because if they don't accept the responsibility to clean up this problem, you don't have a lot of time to wait 40 more years for a benevolent white president or a benevolent black president. That day is over. America is facing the judgment of God as we sit around this table. Look at the weather. Look at the world turning down on her. America is bankrupt. $13 trillion in debt. And if you figure Medicare and Medicaid, she's over $60 trillion in debt. She can never pay it. The people that chose him know the time that we are living at the end of America's rule as a great power in the world. Now you have to face it. She's bankrupt. What are you gonna do when the dollar is worth nothing? They are printing money out of thin air to back these programs. That's why she voted for $650 billion in armament, because she can't pay the debt. But she can bully those whom she is in debt to with fear over her military prowess. I'm here to tell you she's losing there too. Now I close. Our people need repair.
Yes.
We need repair from 310 years of chattel slavery, where black men were forced to be studs, to make black women pregnant, to make more slaves for the slave master. And that same unhealthy attitude of misusing our women and making babies that we have no desire to take care of is still with us. Willie Lynch, who gave the ways that we could keep being divided so that they could rule us for 1,000 years, that sickness is still with us. President Obama does not run this country. President Obama has been chosen to govern white affairs. And if in that process we get something, it won't be because the governing powers want it. It will be because we organized and forced a government to speak to our needs. Now, look, thank you for the question. You know, I want it clearly said in love that I love my brother. I voted for him, At 5 o'clock in the morning, I was out there with my wife voting for our brother. I, like you, am very proud that a black man sits in the White House. But I also understand very clearly, and we should understand that it is the White House. And until we exercise power to force that house to address our agenda. Now remember, our dear sister Julianne Malvo mentioned A. Philip Randolph. Man, that was long time ago. And the cry was jobs and justice. In the March on Washington in 1963, the cry was jobs and justice. In the 20-year anniversary of the March on Washington, the cry was jobs and justice. We are now in 2010. And what is the cry? Jobs and justice. Well, wait a minute. How long?
Not long.
Are you going to sit around begging white people to do for us what we have the power to do for ourselves? Excuse me. I'm quite passionate, so
Amen.
you all set me off. You know that. And I love it. But listen, an agenda is a program, a schedule, a timetable, a plan, a list, a scheme to accomplish a certain result. We have come up with black agendas, but we've been looking to the wrong people to fulfill our agenda. If Franklin Delano Roosevelt said to A. Philip Randolph, yeah, everything you told me is right. The Negroes need this, the Negroes are suffering that. Now you go out and make me do it. Do you think that having a black face in the White House means that we don't have to make him do it?
That's right.
That's right.
Who surrounds him? Let me even go up a bit further. I just
It's all right. It's all right, man.
look. Our brother is brilliant. He got a good heart. I think he really loves America and wants to make America better. He wanted to ease the pain between America and the Muslim world. He wants to solve the problem of Israel and the Palestinians. He has the heart to want to make America better. But he's like that camel in the Quran that God warned the people, don't hamstring his camel. They didn't care what God wanted. They hamstrung the camel. Every one of our brothers and sisters that spoke today, we have a right to expect something from our brother. 97% of our people voted for him. Yes, there's trouble asset relief program, but there's post no. There is still racist America between the money being sent down and it coming to those who need it most. If he does not use his bully pulpit to address that, we can fault him for that. But wait a minute. In love.
Everybody say it.
In love.
Say it again. One more again.
Okay, I want to deal with that word. Because love is bigger than some emotional feeling. The word love, you can change the vowel O to I and the consonant V to F. When you have love, real love, you have life. And that's why the scripture says we can tell that we have passed from death into life because we love the brotherhood. Okay? Now, I was with Elijah Muhammad one day, my teacher, and he said to me, "Brother, you're always talking about love. Define it for me." And I went into my Webster's emotional dictionary stuff, and he said, "Brother, where there is freedom, where there is justice, where there is equality, there is love and there is life." Our problem is we have been looking to the wrong source to give us freedom, justice, equality, love, and life.
After listening to this powerful wealth of knowledge, one thing rings clear. The more things change, the more they remain the same. America has become the modern Rome, a dying empire, bloated with arrogance, drowning in decadence, and ruled not by democracy, but by oligarchs, a handful of billionaires who own your media, your politicians, your banks, your data, your very existence. The American people have no control. They are voting for puppets controlled by the same corporate hands, whether red or blue. Don't talk to me about democracy when Wall Street writes your laws and billionaires pay no taxes while the poor drown in debt. And while this nation spends trillions on war, on drones, on bombs, on occupations, it lets its own cities rot. The water in Flint, Michigan is still poisoned. The south side of Chicago still bleeds. What kind of empire ignores its own children while policing the world? Now let's talk about the dollar, the so-called almighty dollar. The world is watching it decline. You see, when a nation prints money out of thin air, backed by nothing but military might and lies, eventually the world loses faith. And that time has come. Nations are ditching the dollar. BRICS is rising. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and they are creating a new financial order without America at the table. This is not conspiracy. This is economics. And when the dollar falls, everything falls. Your pensions, your savings, your wages, your illusions. But this is deeper than economics, deeper than politics. This is divine judgment. America is under judgment, not by man, but by God himself. The same God who judged Egypt, who judged Babylon, who judged Rome, is now weighing America in the balance and finding her wanting. America has sown destruction, and now it reaps decline. It has sown arrogance, and now it reaps humiliation. It has sown lies, and now it reaps truth, truth that cannot be hidden anymore. America is a land built on blood, on the sweat and suffering of the people it has enslaved, displaced, and silenced. But tell that truth today, and they call it divisive. They call it unpatriotic. They want you to believe that history is just a collection of dates and figures, stripped of the brutality, the deception, the theft. They tell you the Trail of Tears was just relocation, that the Colfax Massacre, Wilmington Coup and Massacre, Rosewood Massacre, Atlanta Race Massacre, Ocoee Massacre, Tulsa Massacre, Harlem Race Massacres of 1943 and 1964 was just riots, and that Jim Crow was merely a setback. What they refuse to admit is that America was never a nation of freedom. It was a nation of conquest, built on white supremacy, and it has never stopped being one. And that is why they are so desperate to erase the past. You see, history, real history, has power. It reveals the truth of this nation, of what was done and what is still being done. They call it critical race theory today, but it's just the truth, and that's why they fight so hard to bury it. From school boards banning books, to politicians scrubbing slavery from textbooks, to social media platforms silencing voices that dare speak honestly about America's past. White supremacy is culturally ingrained into every aspect of white society, in the home, school, religion, and politics. But tell me, what does it say about a people who fear history? It says they know their hands are bloody, and they are terrified that their children will ask them why. Because the truth would destroy their illusion of innocence. The same way it did when the world saw Black Wall Street burn. The same way it did when Jim Crow's chains were exposed for what they were. The same way it did when the Southern strategy was revealed as a blueprint for racial control, not democracy. But America has always had a strategy. Slave patrols became the police. Redlining became modern real estate steering. The plantation became the prison. And now, they want to act like none of it happened. They want to rewrite history to keep future generations obedient, ignorant, docile. And yet, what they don't understand is that you cannot erase pain. You cannot erase memory. You cannot erase the reality of people who have suffered and endured. This nation made laws to steal land from Native people. The Homestead Act gave free land to whites while barring Black freedmen Americans from ownership. The Immigration Act of 1924 made sure America remained a white country, closing its doors to those it deemed unfit. And when we, Black freedmen Americans, dared to build wealth, dared to thrive, they sent mobs, they sent bombs, they sent laws disguised as justice to tear down Black freedmen Americans' communities. And it wasn't enough for them to unalive us. They had to erase us. They built highways through our neighborhoods, turning communities into ghettos. They passed California Proposition 14 to uphold segregation. They used COINTELPRO to assassinate Black leaders. They used the daughters of Confederates to put Confederate statues in our faces, not in 1865, but during the Civil Rights Movement, as a warning, as a message. And still, they want us to believe in their version of America, an America where slavery was a misunderstanding, where the Tuskegee experiment was a footnote, where mass incarceration is just an accident? No, sir. No, ma'am. White supremacy is in the bones of this country, in the schools, the churches, the homes, the politics. It is a disease, and they refuse to cure it. But there is something they should fear more than the truth being known. They should fear what happens when the next generation realizes they have been lied to. What happens when young people of all colors understand that history was stolen from them, that their textbooks were propaganda, that their teachers were ordered to deceive. A people who know they have been deceived do not trust, and a people who do not trust begin to question everything. That is what America fears most, not the past, but the reckoning it demands. And that reckoning is coming. No matter how many books they ban, no matter how many voices they silence, no matter how many lies they tell, truth is like a flame. It spreads. And once it touches the people, it cannot be extinguished. The question is not whether America will reckon with its past. The question is whether America will survive what it has done. Need more people like this man who has the fearlessness to speak truth to power. Tell me what you think about this topic. Hope you find the information in this video informative. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Thanks for watching.